event in Indianapolis, and you can be part of it. It's about race, equality, and opportunity. Now, leading this discussion will be New York Times columnist David Brooks and host Tavis Smiley. Tavis is live in the studio right now with our Anne-Marie Tiernan. Anne-Marie.
Well, that's right, Carlos. The conversation is tonight at Butler, and it's particularly timely in wake of the police shootings that we recently experienced in Tulsa and Charlotte. And Tavis, thanks for joining us. You know, it's good to see you. There's a national conversation going on right now. You're right in the heart of it. What do you think? What are your takeaways right now?
The simple answer is that poverty is now threatening our very democracy, and that's not hyperbolic at all. It's threatening our very democracy. Poverty, put another way, Anne-Marie, is now a matter of national security. These numbers are not sustainable. 1% of the population cannot continue to own and control 40% of the wealth. So it is a national conversation. But here in Indianapolis, the reason why we're talking about it tonight with the mayor and David Brooks and the Christian Theological Seminary is because in Indianapolis, the numbers here exceed the national average. The general poverty rate in this city, 22%, my hometown, Indianapolis, Indiana, my home state. The general poverty rate exceeds the national average at 22%, but the child poverty rate at 33% also exceeds the national average. So as Indianapolis is growing and expanding on PBS across the country, every night I'm bragging about being from Indiana and my hometown and all that's happening here. But we got to do something to arrest this poverty rate that's exploding in Indianapolis.
It's such a complex issue.
It
impacts so many generations across racial lines. What are some solutions for people in the community that say, yes, I see this, I don't want this for the people in our community, I don't want this for our community. What can we do?
First of all, we have to acknowledge that the problem exists. We cannot continue to render the poor in this city and in Marion County invisible. When you render the poor invisible, then their voice is unheard, and somebody has to speak truth to that suffering. So one, we got to acknowledge it. Two, we got to recognize there's a role for all of us to play. There's a public sector role and a private sector role, and David Brooks and I tonight from the New York Times, my friend David, will talk about what that public and private sector role ought to be, how we ought to collaborate, and then we got to do things like put women and children first, jobs with a living wage for everybody. There's a long list of things that can be done, but tonight's going to be an organic, I think an authentic conversation that engages the audience about how we in Indianapolis and in Indiana and across the nation can start to figure out a way out of poverty. I say all the time, there's a highway into poverty these days, Anne-Marie, but barely a sidewalk out. And that's not the answer to the prayer, as my grandmother might say.
So you and David coming at these issues from very different perspectives.
To some degree. David is certainly more conservative than I am, and people read his column and watch him on PBS on the News Hour every week, know that he and I have different points of view on this. But I think on this issue tonight, you're going to find some synergy. I think David and I both agree that the poor, again, cannot continue to be rendered invisible. And if we're going to save this very democracy and keep it from becoming an oligarchy or a plutocracy, then we got to give serious consideration to who these people are that we're leaving behind. And these are our brothers and sisters, our fellow citizens.
Okay, I'm going to just dip my toe into it here. The political election, presidential election. What do you see?
This election fundamentally is about what kind of nation we're going to be, what kind of country we're going to be. In this country right now, Anne-Marie, we have a very difficult challenge to square the ideals that we profess with the ideas, some of them, that are being promulgated in this campaign. And I have a hard time squaring our ideals with some of these ideas. And so I don't tell people who to vote for. I think the choices are pretty clear. You saw it in that debate earlier this week. But what kind of country are we going to be? Who are we really as a people? And that's the nation, that's the statement, rather, we're going to make not just to ourselves, but to the world writ large. Who are we really?
Yeah. And are we who we want to be?
That's exactly the question.
All right, Tavis Smiley, thanks so much.
Thank you,
this event tonight is free, but it is ticketed. I just went and looked, and you can still get one. You can get 2 tickets per person. If you'd like to reserve yours, just go to our website at WTHR.com tonight. It's with David Brooks. It's at Clowes Hall, a very important event. We hope you go.